I have a question about what is good about Islam. I understand it's very seductive, and even FBI agents are seduced by it. But if you take away Sharia law and Muhammad out of the Quran, what is left that is good?
You can't take Muhammad and Sharia out of Islam. That would be like taking the Pope and Holy Communion out of Catholicism. You can't take the Torah out of Judaism. It's the same thing. And Islam is what Muhammad said and did, and what the Quran says. That's what it's all based on. Now, what's good in it? There's a kind of a folk religion that's not, strictly speaking, Islam by the book, that prevails in many parts of the world, or has prevailed up until the Saudis have bankrolled its destruction and its replacement by the more virulent and violent form that they favor. But, for example, if you were to go in the 1970s or the 1960s to Mogadishu, which is a hellhole now, but if you were to go there, you would find people who were Muslims who would be very kind to you. And they would tell you that they were being kind to you because of Islam. And I've met Muslims who actually think, particularly Somalis, but also from all over the world, and they're not very educated in Islam itself. And they seem to think that being nice, being kind, being charitable to other people is a specifically Islamic concept. And so they think that they have this kind of a vague folk religion that is Islamic in character, but which makes them behave better than they might have otherwise. No, that's a fact. But the problem is that when they start actually reading the book is so full of hate and so full of exhortations to violence that the more devout and knowledgeable they get in the religion, the worse people they're likely to be. And this is the problem that we have to confront. It does no good to sugarcoat it.
We're going to have to make
Right here.
this the last question.
One more. One more.
Yes. I just, in retrospect, I think that we must understand and forgive ex-President Carter, because in the welcoming of Khomeini, he was a little mixed up, and he thought it was the second coming of Christ. Anyway, my question is this. We have police departments begging the Muslim communities, please let us know if you see unusual activity so we can, not have another massacre. And yet the response has been very, very little, hardly at all. So I'm wondering, are they afraid of the repulsion of the people around them, the Muslims, or is there something in the Quran that says you don't snitch on other Muslims or anything negative about them?
Yes. Chapter 4, verse 92 of the Quran says, don't kill other Muslims. And by extension, in Islamic theology, you really are not to act in any negative way against other Muslims. There is a very strong dichotomy in Islam between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. That really characterizes all of Islam. It's all about that dichotomy. Chapter 48, verse 29 of the Quran says, Muhammad is the apostle of Allah. Those who follow him are merciful to one another, but ruthless to the unbelievers. And so if the unbelievers are saying, if you see something, say something. Please help us. The believers are going to say, no, I can't, I won't, because they are Muslims and you're not. They're not going to say that to their faces, but that's how they will act. And so you have Trump again. Recently, he in his big foreign policy speech that he gave right after the Orlando shooting, he said that the Muslim communities have to help us with this, implying that they weren't, which was absolutely true. And Ibrahim Hooper of the Council on American Islamic Relations was on television the next night denouncing Trump and saying, of course, what does he mean? We always give help to law enforcement. Now, this guy is the spokesman for an organization that hands out pamphlets at its conferences that say, don't talk to the FBI. And one of them is what to do when the FBI knocks on your door with a picture of somebody going, shh. And I have photographs of these pamphlets that were taken by friends in the CARE conferences. And then he goes on television and says they always cooperate. They tell people not to cooperate with law enforcement. And as a matter of fact, it's very rare that you find Muslims actually revealing a terror plot before it happens. After it happens, they'll all say, "Oh yes, if it's undeniable that they knew the man, then they say, well, I tried to talk him out of it," or something like that, but they never called the cops. And of course, the reason for that is the primary loyalty is to the Muslims. And also because of all the violence and hatred in the Quran, even if somebody is never going to blow himself up or shoot people himself, he's not necessarily against other people doing it.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much.